Hey, everybody. I'm Cameron.
I'm Zach.
I know everything.
I know basically nothing.
And this is the Watching You Watch podcast.
Game of Thrones edition.
I know. You're so used to saying anime edition from way back when we did the other one.
You won't let me make an anime one.
Well, I mean, we don't have another season of Attack on Titan yet, and we don't have Caitlyn right now. And that's, I think, the more important part of that.
I think you're just afraid for me to run this show.
No comment.
Do you have control issues?
No comment.
Yep. We'll get into this in a different podcast.
Yes, that's a way different podcast. So if you're tuning to this podcast, it's because you are here for the sadistic pleasure of watching / listening to Zach watch through Game of Thrones.
Dissect it, dissect me, dissect my heart.
So yes, this is the Watching You Watch podcast where we recap television shows with the special theme that I've seen it before and Zach hasn't this time around. So this time we're doing Game of Thrones. I've seen Game of Thrones, all of it. I'm asking him leading questions and we're just having a bunch of fun.
He's screaming, "Oh, I get it," and I'm like, "Well, how is that relevant to anything?" I get it in a minute,
but we can't talk about that for this episode because it betrays some season 5 stuff that we can't talk about. So, but anyway, we are watching season 2, episode 5 of Game of Thrones, entitled "The Ghosts of Harrenhall." It's a interesting episode. So Zach, why don't you kind of recap it to kind of orient us in the series a little bit?
Geez, yeah, it's to the point where it's super jumping around everywhere. So I'll just talk about people as I think of them.
That's fine.
Okay, the bros north of the wall are all like, "Hey, we're north of the wall, like real north of the wall." Aw, man, it looks like we don't have to deal with the wildlings right now, but they're going to become a problem because they want to get south because there's bad things coming. So we're going to take out their leader, and we make strike team with El Starco. Well, Snow.
Jon Snow?
Jon Snow. And he's like, "I finally get to be a ranger." And it was like, "Fine, we knew this was coming since forever."
Yes.
And that's what they're going to do. Not much else other than that. Their story is like always very piecemeal. Back at King's Landing, it's brother-sister trouble with Tyrion and Cersei being all the time. She's just so irritable now. Like whenever Tyrion is just around her, like even more than usual. But basically she's making fire pots to throw on everyone so they can like burn up and she can be like, "Haha, I am the winner." And Tyrion's like, "You know what? Buddy, why don't you make these for me?" "Yeah, that'd be great. I'm Tyrion Lannister." And then he went into his baby carriage and he talked to Lancel. Yeah, it's always fun seeing them do stuff.
Yes.
Because it's just always humorous. But that was basically they figured out the whole Lannister plot, which is burn them with fire.
It is.
It's very Targaryen. Very, very old. And speaking of Targaryens, you have Daenerys over in Karth. With, Dexter.
It's not like a Klingon.
Slang Ladouche. I don't know. I don't know what his name is. I can't do it. Don't tell me.
Dexter's Couscous.
Stop it. I'm trying. I'm trying.
Zaro, Zhoan, Daxos.
The Zhoan is sitting with her, and he's like, "Listen, I can read people." Also, there's a creepy magician guy. They drink blue stuff that makes their brains funny, and they do magic tricks to make people clap and simperingly laugh.
What's clapping?
Sorry, laugh. It's like clapping and laughing at the same time.
Clapping.
They're clapping. Listen, I don't have time to make words.
Apparently you do.
No. Not in the correct sense. But yeah, and basically it boils down to being like, Jorah likes you. He's like, "You're silly." And he's like, "You know what else is silly? You not wanting half of my stuff, marry me." "Oh, neat. Look at you." And then she
it's
goes
just the most out of the blue random marriage proposal.
Oh, I totally saw that coming. Little Zhoan Couscous is like, "Yeah,
Zhoan
I know
Couscous.
what I want." And she's like, "Oh, well then." And the dragons are soups adorbs. And, okay, the important part is that I think she finally gets that it's not like some sort of like paternal love between her and Jorah. And also that she's going to trust him to like do the slow and steady grind over to the Iron Throne, not just, like sell yourself to this dude I feel it's very important that Jorah is just like so super in her camp and is like wanting the best for her, even though she has so many easy options she can go with.
And yet you can kind of already see her like questioning it a little bit too, even this episode.
I mean, as much as she said yes, like the entire time her face was saying no, which is
interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens over there in Karth. Other pertinent events. Arya gets one of the people she saved like way back when like Lannisters was raiding their little party. It's basically like, we worship this dude that's like, you saved 3 lives from the Red Sun, so now we can take 3 so that everything breaks out even. She's like, I want you to kill that one dude. And he's like, done. And the one dude dies, and he's all like, I see you. And she's like, nice. So all we really need are Tywin Lannister and Joffrey, and the series will be complete. I can stop watching. Also, Bran Flakes was back there having like all of his premonitions of like the sea overflowing him and like people dying, and Frodo Baggins is like, search your feelings, it is true, and he's like, nah, 3-eyed ravens are whack. And and we also see Senor Greyjoy chilling out. It's like, hey crew, we're gonna go sail, and they're like and he's like, listen to me, and then they leave. And then he sees his first mate and is like, it'd be great, let's take a place that belongs to the Starks. And he's like, why would we? And then evil plans are forming. So he's the freaking wave, and it's not good.
Yep.
And also the mountain was attacking places pretty near Winterfell.
Well, they think it's the mountain, but it's really...
Well, it could just be
It's implied to be the Greyjoys coming.
Oh.
Because that's what they're attacking at the place that they mentioned earlier.
Oh, geez. Holy cow.
Yeah.
I also really do like, something I really don't like, Renly's dead. Weird shadow baby killed him. But the good thing that came out of it is Braylon, or like Cat Bray, I don't know.
Brienne and Catelyn.
Yeah, so basically pretty much the best power couple of the series forever. And Bray gives her loyalty to Catelyn, and it's like super cool because they had like girl bond moments.
They did.
And it's like,
Brienne's you've got woman's courage. And then Catelyn's like, thanks, I guess.
That seems to be a response to a lot of things, because everyone's just like ridiculous around her, and she's like, thanks, I guess.
Yes.
It's sort of like her default.
Yeah.
Which works. It really works in her favor. I
think that was basically it. I think you got it.
There's a few other like points that I don't care about.
Yes. Yeah. Well, let's dive right in, because this honestly to me is a really great episode. It's the midpoint of season 2.
Oh.
So kind of just like in season 1, you kind of saw a lot of there being set up, and now we're seeing all the things that were being set up kind of come into play. But one thing that we're seeing being set up that definitely got resolved was Renly's.
Yeah, there wasn't a Renly Stannis battle. It's just he did.
Yes. Did you expect Renly to die in that manner and that quickly?
It was garbage. It's garbage butts.
What did you expect for Renly, I guess, throughout season 2 or even the rest of the show?
I thought that he would just get a lot closer to the crown rather than just being like biffed before even having a fight, which I guess is sort of merciful, because he's one of those like wilting Fowlers that if like the fight didn't go well for him by the numbers game, he would be like, oh, poop. And then Bray and Laurie would have had to save him.
But like, it's interesting because, like, I mean, flaws aside, I think Renly would have been an interesting king. People would have rallied around him.
And I should have known he was going to die as soon as like, okay, Rob can be king of the North and I'll rule the Iron Throne. It's like, yeah, done.
That seems pretty sensible.
Yeah, and as soon as something sensible is about to happen, it dies.
That's Game of Thrones for you.
That's what happened with Ned Stark. Oh boy, we'll play the game. Oh, nope, you're dead because Joffrey's a dick.
Yes, that's kind of how that works. I guess though it does lead to a really interesting conversation that follows, in which we see Marjorie, who was only introduced a couple episodes back, but she's having a conversation with Littlefinger about how like, well, if Renly wasn't really a king, then I wasn't really the queen, and and Littlefinger's like, "Oh, do you want to be a queen?" And then she's like, "No, I want to be the queen." So it begins a series of questions, I think, throughout this whole episode about people who lay out ambitious goals and what they're willing to give to reach them. So like Marjorie is willing way back a couple episodes ago to kind of be a little unsavory with Renly, you know, like she's, you know, it's like,
well, I mean, it sucks
her
for
marriage
her.
with him isn't really
A marriage.
Yeah, it's not really
just
a marriage.
Make offspring.
But she's willing to give that to become the queen. And suddenly throughout this episode, we're posing a lot of these questions about what people are willing to give. We have Stannis.
And what they're scheming.
Well, like Stannis is willing to like give up maybe a part of himself to this dark magic stuff going on to become king. Daenerys might be questioning right now if she's willing to give up like herself to a degree, if she's going to marry this guy to get what he needs. And then you've got Marjorie, of course, who we've already talked about, but it becomes a big theme, I think, in this episode of what are you willing to sacrifice to gain power. I just wanted your thought about that.
I mean, there's a whole lot of everyone really got to play the game this time. It wasn't just like things happening and people reacting. I mean, obviously there's some of that, but it was a lot of people, like, you figured out where they stood, you saw different things, and regardless of players being removed, more players just seem to just enter the game. It's like, here we go, player Marjorie, she's playing some sort of long con game, and, like, Stannis understands where he stands, and it's crazy because, like, how much this throne means for all the freaking trouble that it is. It's just nuts to me that people are like doing all this for the Iron Throne, and I'm just like looking at the sort of track record of how long people who are on the Iron Throne live, and I'm kind of like,
is it worth it? No.
Yeah, I don't know. If I were somehow in a position to do that, I'd just be like, you know what? Let's just sit back. Just take it easy. Let's just take a break. Winter is coming.
You know, it's not a seat that you sit on for very long, it seems.
No, it is a hot seat. It is a freaking hot potato.
Yes, it is. I also want to focus in on Brienne a little bit this episode because, I mean, she was introduced a couple episodes back and she makes a really great first impression, but this is the first episode that we really see her as more than just sort of a side character in scenery. Like, we get to see a little bit more of her motivations and why she's there. I just wanted your thoughts about this vow that she made to Catelyn, this pledge of service.
Wow, yeah. It's just, I don't know. You could just kind of see it in her character. She is just sort of made to be a knight, and that's what she can do. But it's interesting how she reaches out to someone who grew up under similar circumstances, like not having a mother and stuff. And I feel like even more than just like the knighthood, part of what won her over was sort of the similarities and realizing that there's a leader to be followed. And I think that she does have a good sense of who is a good leader to follow, and she will follow them loyally. I found that concept very interesting. Like, for her and Renly, she saw that he would be a good leader, and I think she sees similar things in Catelyn. So, I don't know. It's very interesting to see, you know, a knight, rather than becoming sort of like a Ronin, will pledge herself to another worthy person. And I'm glad you got to do that, because Game of Thrones' typical thing is like, exposition backstory, you're dead. Goodbye.
Yep. But do you think she's likely to... I mean, she pledges herself to Catelyn to basically ensure a later position to kill Stannis. Do you think she's likely to meet that goal because of this alliance? I don't necessarily think so,
and I feel like I feel like she stands to have some just like character growth, which is interesting because she has been played as pretty one-dimensional. Like, she is Knight Protector. She's real good at what she does. That's her.
Except she wasn't, I guess, because she couldn't defend Renly against evil smoke demons.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, who is able to defend themselves from evil smoke demons?
No one really, I guess, in Game of Thrones. I guess. No. I mean, once you throw Melisandre into the mix, it all goes downhill. Listen, she summoned a
freaking Heartless and murdered her
out of her womb.
Yeah, listen, there are no Keyblades in this universe. Renly was fracked.
So there's a lot of interesting stuff going on, I think, when you're seeing a lot of the different characters going on, but also one of the other interesting moments for me is this is the first episode where we get to see Arya interacting with Tywin.
Yes.
It's a crazy interesting moment where you see Tywin and his war council kind of deliberating stuff, and then Arya's just there being like the cupbearer, but he basically like
it's like, I know,
he kicks that one guy out and then immediately like starts asking Arya some off the cuff questions with the intention of like embarrassing his like generals, and she gives some really insightful responses. The first being that like he asks Arya to be like, what did they say about Robb Stark, King of the North? And then she's like, oh, they say he rides as wolf. He is a wolf. Blah blah blah. And then she ends it by saying they say he can't be killed, and he's like, well, what do you think? And then she's like, I think that's ridiculous. Anybody can be killed.
And looks him in the eyes real hard.
Yes. What did you think about this moment in the show?
I feel like it was a very good thing. Like, you're in this tired war council, all the other Lannister families just like, oh my gosh, can we just get on with it and murder the Starks? And Tywin's basically like, listen, like this is real business. And I don't know, I think it's interesting how you can kind of see how Arya is definitely more than she appears. Although it's funny that he doesn't pull the Stark connection.
I mean, he never saw her though, like ever.
Exactly, yeah, because he was busy Tywinning and whatever.
He was never in King's Landing when she was there, like...
He's always too busy taking care of business. Don Lannister has to get in the stuff because he's always got to take care of it himself because pretty much everyone is incompetent in his family.
We kind of did this before in season 1 when he kind of got halfway through too. And we kind of looked at where all our characters were at and where all we're going. So let's just kind of run through some of their characters right now and give me some predictions about where you think they're going to be by the end of season 2.
Okay.
So let's kind of start in the Stark camp since we've seen a decent amount of them.
Yeah.
We've seen Robb,
Stark stuff.
We've seen Catelyn. Where do you think they're going by the end of season 2?
Oh, boy. I mean, it honestly depends on what happens with Greyjoy, because if, like, the Winterfell things happened, that could totally ruin Camp Stark.
Do you think they're likely to go back if Greyjoys start sacking their lands?
And I feel like that would totally turn the war, because the war as it's going right now, and it's as I always said, Tyrion said before, basically it's like his father's running around getting made a fool of by Robb Stark, but the Starks are weak to family ties.
That's true. It seems to be like their kryptonite. Like,
yeah, like they're
compassion
phenomenal.
And family.
Yeah, exactly. Although it's kind of funny because you see they're very juxtaposed by the Lannisters, because it's like family and like dastardliness, and then
like
the Starks are like
compassion.
family and yeah, it's funny because they're basically like two sides of the same coin.
Yes.
But I don't know. I have this seeking suspicion that the Starks doing so well for so long is an inevitability that, like, unfortunately someone who's close to them, Mr. Greyjoy Face, is going to take advantage of this and just completely topple the scales of the war. Mm-hmm. I have no I guess I'll move on to, since we're talking more people, I feel as if the Lannisters may actually win out against Stannis, especially if Melisandre comes along, because she's a priestess of fire and they're going to use fire pots. I feel as if like King's Landing is going to burn.
Yeah, let's talk about King's Landing here for a second. We've got a lot of characters that have been in interesting places between the small council kind of doing a lot of interesting things, Littlefinger running around.
Places, because Littlefinger's like put on the whole Baratheon front.
And then we've seen Tyrion kind of like take charge and be generally awesome.
Yeah, because and it's funny. I love how they're turning him into be like the demon monkey, like person, like
who's like the puppet
running
master.
Joffrey behind the scenes. Like,
yes,
I'm trying to save you all.
Well, yes, he's like, come
idiots.
on. What do you think is in store for Tyrion and Cersei and Joffrey and maybe even Sansa? We can include her in this conversation since she's still there.
I don't know. I feel as if Joffrey's gonna keep doing dumb things. Cersei's on like a down spiral. She's on just like a sip wine and frat cousins binge,
basically,
and it's causing her to just not play the game as well. She is not on her game. Like Tyrion is in here like rooting out all all of her plans, and she has like no counter contingencies, which is ludicrous because that's all she did in season 1.
That's true. She was very cunning.
Even though she was playing against a different house.
She was like, I'm so good at playing the game, I don't need to listen to Ned Stark ever.
Yeah, well, ever since like her son backtalked her, she's pretty much been playing backseat, which is sort of disappointing because she still should be a power player, but she hasn't felt as much. I can't say what will necessarily happen for everyone. I think that everyone in this equation is going to make it out, even Sansa, but I do feel as if that firepot thing is just going to go horrifically wrong going against a fire priestess. Like, as soon as I heard that they were going to fight fire against them, I was like, oh, this will work really... Oh, no.
But it is worth mentioning that Stannis did say, well, we're not going to send her into the battle.
Well, the thing of it is she has her own will. I feel as if she's just going to show up there, going to be like, oh, God, we're losing, and fire priestess.
Yeah, well, okay, let's talk about Camp Stannis here. Stannis has, like... nearly everything he's applied himself to has succeeded.
Yeah.
So where do you think that's going? Where is Stannis heading? Where is Melisandre heading? And maybe where is Sir Davos, his right hand, going?
Okay. I see the Lannisters as holding even, and I see either... Well, now it's kind of hard, because now I see Stark as maybe holding even, and Greyjoy as, like, going up, and then Stannis as, like, going up. That's sort of my overall
like the more he
predictions.
makes deals with the devil, so to speak, the more he goes up.
Unfortunately, but it'll come back to bite him in an interesting way, like something that I have like no idea how to do. But yeah, it's going to be one of those sell your soul to the devil, get what you want, and oh darn, this was the cost, and it's pretty brutal. But I do see him continuing to do well because he's a warmonger. It's what he does well, and we've seen him, do pretty good. And he also has a good understanding of what needs to be done to win too. So,
what about Melisandre's stake in all of this?
Listen, she's gonna be just fine. She's got the magic in her, and I don't see her as like having any kind of problem. I see her as being one of the things where it's like she gets the power she wants, maybe she causes like the right amount of chaos, and then she like either fades into the background or gets like some sort of like really big role. There's no way Melisandre is dying.
Well, I mean, but what do you think her end goal is? I mean, she seems to say she wants Stannis on the throne, but is that really what she wants?
No, she just wants to push her own cult agenda. There's got to be some sort of bigger thing, and I'm kind of terrified to see what it is. Especially with all like the resurgence of magic in Westeros.
That is
like
true.
kind of happening. Yeah. I feel as if she's feeling that and being part of that, and her end game is basically to like a la like Cthulhu cult followers, like, and now I'm on the throne, which is the exact thing I needed to call the Dark Lord of Light.
That could be fun.
Or something. Yeah. I don't know. Something like that. There's something she needs, and until she gets it, she's going to use people around her to get it. And it's for the glory of her cult.
Let's go far north here for a bit here.
Yeah.
We've seen kind of the northern plot line kind of simmer a little bit. It's kind of been a little bit of a slow burn, so to speak.
Well, because I feel like it's going to pick up real quick.
We've seen John kind of run into some moral quandaries with Craster and his weird, creepy wives sort of thing.
Creepy ranch.
Yeah, so where do you think that's all going? What do you think this expedition into the north is likely to yield? I feel like the expedition is
going to go... I don't feel like it's going to go great. I feel as if they're going to like try and stop the wildlings, but it's not. It's going to go wrong in like a way they can't expect, which is probably going to just be like White Walkers. So I feel as if they're going to succeed up to the point where magical things start happening, in which case no one has any idea what to do about any of it, and they're going to get like scattered to the four winds. Something just like really unfortunate, which is also going to throw a wrench in the whole like Westeros war thing.
Right. I mean, that would White Walkers running over the wall would put a damper on anybody's day, I think.
Yeah, it wouldn't be so great. I just hope that drugged out Frodo Baggins, Hodor, and Bran Flakes can get out.
Oh, all of our friends in Winterfell.
I like them.
Yes. Speaking of which, let's talk about them, since we did talk about Camp Stark. We didn't talk about Winterfell. So,
which is still Stark Camp, but still.
Yeah. What about Winterfell? I mean, it seems pretty grim right now with what's been implied to happen.
I mean, they're getting assailed on unfortunately all fronts, and if there is some sort of a magical monster thing coming from the north, guess who gets to get hit first?
Yeah, it's Winterfell. Yeah.
So, I mean, like, that's the thing. I feel like if they do come out of the Greyjoy thing, okay, that's going to be unfortunate because the plot's going to go right to, oh, hey, look, White Walkers, or something equally annoying. Or rather, I guess it won't be White Walkers. It'll be Wildlings, then White Walkers, which it's just stinking a crap storm for the Starks.
Well, let's talk about one final character who we would be remiss to not talk about. Let's talk about Daenerys. Her storyline has been sort of on the up and up,
Yeah,
but it still kind of feels foreboding a little bit.
Yeah, unfortunately, she has a history of getting used and abused, and it doesn't seem to be letting up. I don't trust any of the 13 in Karth. They are ruthless businessmen making a profit at the end of the world. To do something like that, they have to be more than just normal, happy-go-lucky merchants. I don't trust a darn one of them, especially now with the dragons there.
Yeah, well,
they let her in because they see a monetary gain, and whether
they're
it
like,
be
"Can we
as
see your
wife or
dragons?" And then she was
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
"No," and then
They're like, "Okay, bye."
"Okay, bye," but like she gets let in through another method.
But yeah,
like,
then like
why even ask about the dragons?
Zumba, whatever the frack's name is, lets her in
Zumba,
basically because
dexterous couscous.
Stop it! Stop! I can't.
Zaro,
Zhoan.
Zhoan, Daxos.
Whatever, Mr. Whatever.
I'm not a walking Game of Thrones wiki. I just pay attention to the names.
But moral of the story, he let her in because he wanted to marry her because he sees power play in it, and he's obviously ambitious because he went from having literally nothing to somehow being one of the 13. If that doesn't raise red flags, I don't know what does.
I mean, she also has a second offer too from the magician-y people who
Well,
are
just
like,
to sort of say
"Hey,
hi."
come to our tower."
Well, and I know pretty much all of them are going to try something if she stays there long enough.
What do you think she's likely to do with this place? What is it going to mean for Daenerys and her goals to be on the throne and achieve a place for her people?
She's in a much better position to do it now than before because she went from like,
I mean,
bust
yeah,
to
crawling
boom.
through the desert is no good for anybody.
I don't feel as if she could have, the only way for her to be doing worse is to be dead, but I don't feel as if she's in the best place. She can definitely get what she wants, but she won't get it the way she wants to unless she does it Jorah's way. I really do honestly think that he is very right in like trying to get her out.
Even though he might have a less than kosher interest in her, he still think he
has
should
the
listen.
most sincere interest. Regardless of his feelings, he really does want what's best for her and the people there. And he's also invested in it too because, he's part of it. So
True. It's not like he has anywhere else to go.
Exactly. And, the people of Karth are in it for themselves, but Jorah is definitely in her camp regardless of anything else and does want to see her betterment. Of course, there's probably some amount of, I see all these like rich dudes hitting on here and here I am. But still,
yeah.
I honestly think the Jorah way is one of the better ways. And she still has more options. There's a lot of things to do there and a lot of things to see, but they haven't really let her go open world yet because she had the whole
She had to get over
thing.
Drogo and the fallout of that.
Yeah. Well, and even there's discord among her people. So
That's true.
I don't know.
Dothraki don't do well in cities.
No, that's
already painfully clear.
It's pretty phenomenal. It's like, we'll wait till after the party and then steal everything.
Yes. And then like her handmaid's like, listen, I made and wove your dress back together. Oh, we have this new dress that Zaro, Zhoan, Daxos bought for you. It's so pretty and golden and silky and and she's like, doesn't know what to do. It's
There's there's the weird
contest.
culture shock because she's going back to like how her life kind of was before.
Yes.
When she had like adopted Dothraki
And yet she
life.
has like a weird opinion towards that too. Like she's just like, the last time someone gave me a dress this nice, they were selling me to Khal Drogo.
Exactly.
And then she's like, oh wait, Khal Drogo, I loved him. This is weird.
Yeah, she has a
She's
very
got
complicated life.
Yes, she does. Like,
although I do really love George's juxtaposition of her as a leader. Like, she's the kind of person you'd find once every century because, she's a strong leader, but she's
you
gentle
would fear
of heart
her and love her.
Yeah, she would be like respected, feared, and loved. And that's very rare. And I can see that. I can honestly see that. But she's still young and Jorah understands she needs to be coddled. But now she's finally to the point where she hates being coddled.
Does all of that in your mind make you think that Daenerys is the most suited person to sit on the Iron Throne at the end of all of this?
Now, see, there's the problem because there's going to be a lot of trouble when she gets over to Westeros because,
Because stuff.
Because like, she is the one person in which everyone would gang up on at this point,
Yes.
which is super unfortunate.
I mean,
but I don't see her as having many
But
friends.
if Westeros continues to be as fractured as it is now, with now
There
there
could be
was
a
five
Targaryen
kings.
resurgence.
There could be, yeah. But I mean, we're one king down from our multi-king battle. But even so, like,
don't forget a queen candidate.
that's true. But I mean, like, there's people fighting each other everywhere. It's Greyjoys who are moving in on Starkland. Stark people moving in on Lannister territory. Lannisters
There's more families
trying
in this
to
universe.
things. Agreed. Yeah, like you haven't even seen everybody yet.
And you know that there's infighting going among the lesser lords and like different changes of allegiance. I mean there's only so much
it
the
was
show
very
can
clear
show,
just
but
based
still.
upon like Marjorie and Loris's involvement in the whole Renly plotline that there are other people who have a part to play in things.
Exactly, and everyone has to use all the right resources and peoples and stuff.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to our weekly wrap-up questions. Let's start with the simple and obvious one, Stark of the Week. We got to see Catelyn do some things, and I think, well, besides we got to see Bran, I think. I'm trying to think of all the other Starks we saw. We saw Jon Snow. We didn't see Robb this episode. We saw Arya.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. We kind of saw little snippets of everybody.
Yeah.
So who would you
But
say
I feel
gets
as if
it?
this was actually a strong Arya week because she actually moved and played, which was interesting.
You mean realizing that she now has these lives in her hand and whatnot?
Yeah, and also just, I don't know, her holding composure and like right next to Tywin Lannister.
That's true.
That's always impressive.
It is.
I mean, I don't know. I feel as if she did some of the cooler things. I give it to Arya this week.
I mean, hey.
Not to say that anyone did less good, just that, I don't know, as an Arya, like, sort of arc, this was probably one of her strongest.
It's interesting, too, because
Surprisingly, for where she
she's
is.
strongest by, like, fading into the background, too.
Yes.
It's an interesting kind of juxtaposition, because we've seen Arya be peppy and in your face, and you've given her Stark of the Week, too, for being that.
But that's why I'm giving it to her this time, because she's adapting to the game. And it's funny, because even from the beginning, you could tell she was one of the people who would adapt well in the situations the game would, like, pose to her.
Interesting. I didn't really think about it that way.
Because, like, everyone was like, we're doing things and the stuff. She's like, but wouldn't it be better this way? Oh, Arya.
Yeah, Arya in my mind...
She calls it how
like,
she sees it.
well, she just keeps going and doing what she needs to do to survive. That's the way I see it. And I guess part of me is like, is that any different than like Cersei doing what she needs to do to maintain her position? But also it seems very different because Arya seems to accept, like, she doesn't care about like power or anything. She cares about what would satisfy her personally. And what would satisfy her personally is putting an end to everybody on her list.
And and that's just so sort of poignant because everyone else thinks of like so many myriad other things, but she kind of prioritizes her own needs while keeping those close to her in mind, which is nice.
Well, let's talk about who played the game best this episode. A lot of people making a lot of decisions. Obviously, we've got some major reversals of fate for Renly and all of Camp Renly.
Well, which is now Camp Stannis, basically.
Which is now Camp Stannis. So what would you say, where would you give the crown this week just based upon how well someone played the game this episode?
Oh, boy.
There's a lot of people who did some really neat things this episode.
I know. This is really hard. This is a tough one to pick. Because a lot of this is like very setup of plans type things.
Right, and it's hard to tell who's going
gonna
where.
pan out even well because everything seemed like a decently placed move.
And we'll get there. That's our next question. But right now we need to figure out who gets the crown based upon how well they played. Maybe we should recap a couple of the well-played maneuvers. We've got Zaro, Zhoan, Daxos, who's made a really interesting move, proposing to give some solid liquid assets to Daenerys. We've got Tyrion conscripting the wildfire to himself. We've got Marjorie making the decision to leave for home, to live basically to get her goals another day. We've got Brienne and Catelyn and everything that happened there.
You have Bran, you have Night Watch plans. You have a lot of plans, but which is throne worthy?
Well, yeah, who played the game the best this episode is, I guess, what the question is. And that's what it always is.
Yeah. Oh boy. Ooh.
All right, off the top of your head, who do you think it is? Like, if you just had to give it to somebody right now, based upon what they did this episode.
Zoro, Zumu, Daxos.
Zaro, Zhoan, Daxos.
Yeah, I'm getting better. Honestly, I think
Dexter's couscous.
Stop.
You started this.
I will say Cersei at least 11 times in a row to grate your nerves. Don't play this game with me. I will win.
Okay.
This game of annoyance.
Okay, so Zaro, Zhoan, Daxos.
Yes.
Okay.
Because honestly, he really went out on a limb and like did something big, but thinking about it from a perspective of like throne, yeah, he could basically rule the 13 if he's able to get a Targaryen with freaking dragons on board. I don't know, and it's such a ballsy move too.
I mean, he was playing it cunning from the get-go when he cut his hand and brought her into the city.
Exactly, and it's funny because it's one of those things where there's 13 other people, but he like is ruling the roost.
Yeah, he was basically just like,
he has like somehow socially boxed them out and just like calculated everything to the point where he could get, Daenerys alone, give her an offer she could basically not refuse, and also I don't know, I just feel that he did a super good job.
Okay.
Like, it's a throne worthy job what he did, like his whole, and I guess I give it to him more because I see his whole plan the whole way through, which I kind of suspected something of this sort.
You see where he was going at with
and
this.
not that it was like a super complex or well thought out plan, but it's a plan that is working. I mean, and he's getting what he wants.
He plays the interest of the 13 against his own and Daenerys's, and somehow navigates a position that looks to be the most on top out of anybody on that side of the world at this point.
Yeah. And I mean, and especially if his plan goes through, he has a Targaryen at his back with freaking dragons.
I mean, he's got Daenerys at his mercy, basically. Like, but better or worse, he saved Daenerys' life. Yeah,
and that's the thing. And I don't know, it's interesting. It's an interestingly thought out plan, and there's obviously even more to it than what we can see right now on the surface. But I feel as if like that's a throne worthy
maneuver that he played here.
Yes.
I would agree. Let's talk about plans, because you already were kind of hitting on that a little bit. Who made the best plan moving forward, and who made the worst? A lot of people have declared their intention at the end of this episode about what's next for them. And based upon what we've seen so far, that could be good or bad for some characters. So where do you place that this episode?
I feel as if Tyrion has gotten too deep.
You think it's a bad plan with everything with the wildfire?
Like, that's the thing. I don't think
playing with Cersei.
Yeah, I don't know. To avoid saying he'd get burned puns, I will say that it's probably not
all
the best.
The get burned puns.
No, he gonna get real crispy. No amount of burn heals will fix that. But I don't know. It's just interesting that at first it seems as if he's going to like thwart the plan, but then he says to me, and then I'm like, well, how are you going to make this work? I mean, like, the more the Lannisters split themselves, the worse it actually is for them, even if Tyrion has a better vision for how everything will go, because it's going to devolve to squabbling and being what he fears the most, them just like dropping 100 pots of wildfire on their gates and just like, oh, look, here's a big hole. And now everyone just come on in.
I mean, he is deferring to Bronn's advice that like, hey, like these inexperienced soldiers, giving them a bunch of dangerous weapons of mass destruction
is not going to be good.
He's
like, no. And that's why I think it's weird that he's even, I don't know, because he's not like seizing control of all of them. He's just saying, make them for me. Well, how is fighting wildfire with wildfire pots going to really work? I don't know. I just don't think the plan bodes well, and especially, I guess I sort of paint that with Fire Priestess.
Well, okay, let's talk about best plan then. Who made the best plan at the end of this? By the end of this episode, moving forward,
the sort of fan favorite I would think of being Catelyn just saying, "Hey, Brienne, we got to bounce."
But I mean, okay, maybe But that's earlier on. What about the obvious
long-standing
one, like the oath that Catelyn and Brienne swore to each other? There is that the best plan you think now moving forward?
No. If I'm honestly going to think of what the best plan is, as much as I hate to give it to him, I'd give it to Theon.
Ooh,
and what
I didn't
he's
even
doing.
think about that.
No, I honestly think that is one of the smartest things. Small rating force to go in and screw over the overall combat. It gets him glory with like much less cost than anyone else.
Not to mention the Starks have left their homelands kind of undefended.
And he knows the lay of the land because he lived there.
Yeah.
So it's like the best thing for him to gain position and rise in the ranks where he is and where he wants to be, because he has like the long-standing daddy issues to fulfill.
He does.
And he can stand to gain like the respect of like a crew, which is like super important. Like this is a game-changing move for him.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't his idea because he really isn't honestly that smart, but it's probably the best plan at this point, and it already seems to be working, unfortunately. Yeah. And if Bran Flake's prediction is anything to be, unless he goes like Super Bran, like Lady Bran Flake's mode.
Super Saiyan Bran.
Fracked. Like, it's really not good.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, since that's foreboding enough there, let's talk about how hopeful are you about this?
For the people who I love.
How much hope do you have at the end of this?
Unfortunately, not very. The more you make me think about it, the less like hopeful I get.
Okay, so where are we on a scale of
4.5?
Ooh, that's not very hopeful.
I really think that like the next 1 to 2 episodes are just going to make me real sad, and then like 8's going to be kind of okay, and then 9 and 10 are just going to make me like do that whole meme where it's like try not to cry a whole lot, and I'll be in a puddle of my tears.
but we're only in season 2 of soon to be 6, Zach. I mean,
listen, season 1 already destroyed me. I'm expecting this to happen every season, and I'm preparing myself for it accordingly with gallons of ice cream and like other TV shows that are happy.
Yes, you have to watch something that brings you absolute joy. Yeah. Just to get over some of the sadness sometimes. Mm-hmm. I think that's part of the reason why it's great that we don't binge watch this when we do this. We do actually take some time in between.
Well, yeah, and I also like it just because it helps me like really get what they put into each episode, because they really do a good job of doing a lot with each episode. Agreed. And it's a lot more fun to chew over it than to be like, oh yeah, and that what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep. I honestly think that it's like one of those things where you kind of can sit there and kind of think about an episode each based on its individual merits.
Totally binge watch it, but you wouldn't catch like all the subtlety, and it makes me think about more of what the actors are trying to play, and I don't know. Because, and some people are like, I just want to see the Jon Snow arc through because he's moody and I love him, swoon. And then and to that I say, wow, why are you here?
Especially if you're watching so far in season 2, because not much Jon Snow has happened.
No, I'm sorry, fangirls. You're going to have to wait for his moody hair.
His hair was especially moody today. I will say that.
Because the wind was helping it. Yeah. The wind was teasing it.
Well, here we go. That was episode 5 of Game of Thrones. I hope that if you've been tuning in, you've been enjoying Zach's predictions here this episode, and also some of the way he's thought through this. If you have questions for Zach and want to send them our way, if you know what's coming by the end of season 2, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Stop.
Please send them to us. You can connect with us on our YouTube channel. Maybe you're watching this podcast on there. That's Useful NPCs, or you can connect with us on our Tumblr or on Twitter at Useful NPCs. And so send your questions this way, because we want to hear from you. And I know that Zach would like to answer more painful leading questions.
And I can also answer thoughts on where I was in other places before. I'm flexible. And if you want to talk fan theories or just like my headcanon universe.
And if you've seen everything, you can laugh at Zach's fan theories that you know might obviously be wrong.
Yeah, and you can call me on that later, and then I can be like, yeah,
and then you can go, ha, Zach, you're dumb.
And then I can be like, ha, I've known this longer than you.
So yeah, there's that for you. So yeah, we're halfway through season 2, Zach. How do you feel?
It's just like until you started saying it, it just kind of said, and they're like, oh yeah, these are 10 episode seasons.
They are 10 episode seasons,
but
yeah.
it definitely makes sense because they are so freaking much.
Yes.
Like if it was 12, I wouldn't even know what to do. I wouldn't even know what to do.
So is your body ready for the second half of season 2?
My body is never ready, but my ice cream is.
So who are you expecting to die by the end of this season? Come on, you have to say it before the music ends here.
I don't want to say it.
You have to. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Everybody. The end.
Oh, that was a cop-out.
I know, but none of the dire wolves, please. I can't lose any more dire
well
wolves
that went
or
for
dragons.
you last time.
No.
Just saying.
This music is, oh my gosh.